Lots of you have asked for advice on how to plan and plant a garden border. So today I'm going to show you how I do it. In our new garden there are several good sized beds and borders, but there's one that I've had my eye on since we got here. This is the bed I'm going to tackle. A bed because you can walk round it. A border tends to be long and thin. So where is it? It's out in the open. South is there, so it gets plenty of light. It's not shaded too much by this magnolia in the centre, which has a crown fairly high off the ground. Now this is a cottage garden. The cottage is just there, thatched, beautiful. You look out and this is the first thing you see. So it's quite impactful, or it should be, and it will be when we've planted it up in such a way that it catches the eye and it's pleasingly contoured. So the first thing to do is to clear the plants out, and you can take all of them. If there were huge ones in here that I knew I would want to put back there, then I would leave them, but I want to clear all this. So just start somewhere, and the great thing about early spring is that stuff is happy to be moved, and it can stay out for a good few days as long as it doesn't dry out, and each of them with a little root ball like that, that's going to be perfectly happy to be transplanted in a few days' time. Stick them in my wheelbarrow and put them somewhere else while I get everything out of here. What you will find is that some perennials grow into one another. Here, a geranium growing into a sedum, and I want to dig both of those out, separate them, and then they can be replanted at a suitable distance. They're both healthy, it's just that they're a bit too close for comfort. All these plants, in a garden centre or a nursery, you'd pay quite a few bob for a plant as big as that. The great thing at this time of year is that snowdrops, which have just finished flowering, can be dug up and replanted. Split them up into smaller clumps like that. You can spread them all over, plant them about 6 inches apart, and look how many you can make out of a clump like that. And I don't have a copper bottom guarantees, but you've got a hugely much greater chance of success by planting them in the green. Some of these clumps are small enough to be left as they are, others are larger, and this is when you can do some divvying up, dividing a large clump like this hardy geranium here into smaller pieces, saving yourself money, covering a larger portion of ground. Now the traditional way, which always amuses me, about dividing perennials like this is that you get two forks, one's a small fork, one's a large fork, and you push them into the centre of the clump like that. Push them right down, and then you push them together. Look at that. The important thing is you don't push too far, because if you do, it's very good at wrapping your knuckles. 1, 2, 3, 4. It hasn't hurt them at all, they really don't mind. It's really rather like cutting your fingernails, there's no pain involved. And as soon as they go back in the soil, and the trick is to get them in there fairly quickly so they don't dry out. But if you've got to prepare the soil, what do I do with them? Stick them on a bit of spare ground in the veg patch, something like that. Just keep them cool and damp, and they'll be happy for several days, if they have to, before they go back in. You will find that in spite of having got all your individual clumps up, the ground itself, if it's been planted for a long while, will be riddled with roots. Now these need to come out, so it's then a case of going through with your fork and prising them out, using the fork a bit like a sieve, and just, it's not vital they all come out because they're not going to reshoot, but just to clean it up. So I'm doing this in sections, and this is my first clean section of bed. Plants taken out and kept, roots taken out, but now that I've cleared all this, I can use soil improver. I love it, the ground loves it, and these two ducks love it as well. They love what it produces, which is worms and grubs. And are you going to be my friends here, or are you going to be a real pain? Oh, a worm. All yours. There's your lunch. So don't just give it a little sprinkling like that. Be generous. Quite a good dressing over the top, right the way across. And then, if it falls in any clods, you can spread them about in a minute. So a bag, one bag will just about do. Don't waste any of it. Then spread it out fairly evenly, so you've got a layer on the surface all the way over, just making sure it's even to start with, and lightly fork it in. And the thing is, when you start to plant, it will fall in around the roots of the plant itself, just taking care not to damage my peony, and get down where it's going to do some good about the roots. And you know, already I can feel this soil getting so much more propitious for root growth. A poor soil is now gloriously ready for anything to grow in it. I just know that when we put these plants back and work out how we're going to put them in, where we're going to put them, and what we're going to add to them, I know it's going to be fab. So, I've cleared my bed, or part of it. It'll all be cleared eventually. I've enriched the soil. I've taken out some plants that I'm going to put back in again. What I need to do now is to work out how many plants I need to go back in that border. It's so easy to shoot down the garden centre or the nursery and have that, and get back. You haven't got enough of one, and you've got too much of another. So try and do yourself a little grid which shows how many plants you're going to need. That way, they stand a chance of growing well, and also you'll waste far less money. I've measured up the bed. It's almost round, and it's about 6 metres by 6 metres. And then I've used lines to mark out individual square metres. How many plants to a square metre? It depends, of course, how big they're going to grow. If it's a shrub, 1 per square metre. If it's a smaller perennial, about 4 per square metre. And you can actually mark them in on your grid. Now, I'm going to have taller plants towards the middle. Here's a tree. I'm not going to plant right up against the trunk, but nearer the centre of the bed, I'm going to put shrubs. Now, 1 shrub will go in each of these squares here. The geraniums I've taken out, I'm going to put them down here, quite near the front, and all 4 of those will go in 1 square metre. And you suddenly find yourself thinking, oh, I see, I can see now how many plants I'm going to be able to get in. Now, although these single crosses are 1 shrub to roughly a square metre, it doesn't mean that the 4 crosses in a square metre, every square metre has to be a different plant. You can then draw drifts on it because you want to do pleasing shapes. And some plants you may only need 3 of, another you may need 7 of. They go from square to square in a drift. Now, I know this is a bit like painting by numbers, but if you've never done it before, it's a good starting point. It really does work. You'll get the right amount of distance between your plants, and you'll get a good sweep of 1 plant in any one place. So I've made my plan And the first thing to go in are the shrubs. So join me in a future video when I'll be choosing plants to turn this into the perfect cottage garden bed. What I just found in this bed, heavens above, presented to Gardening with Alan Titchmarsh for passing 100,000 subscribers. And if you haven't yet subscribed, well, now's your chance to join us for the next 100,000 in this brand new garden with lots of new ideas that'll suit everybody.